Well, for the last few weeks, we've been talking about steps toward addiction, and I'm in the studio with Pastor Eric. You're helping us unpack this. Before we get to step 3, which is today, walk us through steps 1 and 2. What were those about?
Yeah, step one is all about brokenness, admitting that we have a problem, getting to this point where we see how broken we really are. And then step 2 is seeing, okay, I have a problem, and what am I going to do about it? Who's going to help me? I need help. So we're getting open-minded to the idea of asking for help outside of ourselves and looking at there is actually a God out there who loves me.
Yeah, so step 1 is brokenness. Step 2 is openness or open-mindedness or having your eyes open to a new way to think. And then step 3 is this. I'll read it. We make the decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. So, Pastor Eric, step 3 is about making a decision. Is this a pretty important step?
This is the most important step of all the steps. And the rest of the steps will be trying to live this out practically. But for this third step is a turning point at this where we're going to get to a point of surrender, saying, okay, I'm going to follow a new way of living and thinking rather than my old way. So without this step, we can't move forward.
Okay, so we're going to break this down because we're going to be very specific here. For those of you who have never yet made a decision that we're talking about today, to turn your will over and your life over to God, we're going to help you do that in a biblical way. Pastor Eric's going to walk us through it. The first thing is this. Help us with this. We make a decision to trust Jesus for salvation. We talked a little bit about this last time. What does this mean?
Well, we actually talk about this in Truth 1 in Foundations on Pursue God. But what this basically means is that Jesus Christ came 2,000 years ago and he died on a cross. And what that means for us is that we have a decision to believe it or not. We've got to make a decision. We've got to do something with Jesus. And we're here today saying Jesus is the higher power, our God who we need, and he did everything that we needed for forgiveness to be made right with God no matter who we are. It says that in Romans 3. And now we're getting to this point where we want to declare, okay, Jesus, you are my Lord. I need you. Please come in and forgive me for the life that I have lived, and I trust what the Bible says about you is true. And the Bible says that we receive this by faith alone.
So I'm going to read a couple of really important scriptures because there are probably some people watching this who say, this is all new to me, I'm interested, but help me to get to this point. So help us with these two scriptures. The first one is Romans 3:22, and it says this: we are made right with God by placing our faith in Jesus Christ, and this is true for everyone who believes, no matter who we are. So this verse, Eric, is talking about how we're made right with God, how we have a right relationship with God. And it turns out it's not about keeping a bunch of rules, being a good person, doing a bunch of good things, making up for all of your mistakes. What is it all about?
It's about who the person of Jesus Christ and who he is and how powerful he is, and faith in him alone. By his name alone can people be saved,
okay, so if I'm
no matter who I am.
So if I'm sitting here saying, I want that, what do I have to do? What's the one thing I have to do?
I have to trust Jesus.
Yeah.
I've got to make the decision, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's
today.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the other verse. It says this in Romans 10:9. If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. What does that mean?
So we have to actually get to a point where we openly confess it to God. We have to get to the point where in prayer or with a mentor or in a group, we get to a point where we say, okay, I'm ready to do this. How do I do it? And this verse explains to us that this is when a person gets to the point and they say, I am willing. And that's what another thing this step is saying. We are willing to turn our will and lives over to the care of God, and that's an action. So we're going to pray, we're going to talk to God, and we're going to say, I believe in you.
And so here's what we're going to do. If you've never done this and you're with your group or a mentor, at the end of this video, we're going to go ahead and put a little sample prayer, a prayer like what you and I prayed when we first did this important step. There's nothing magical about it, but it will help guide you through if you want to make this decision to make the decision to trust Jesus for your salvation. We'll give you that below this video. But we're not done with this video yet because there's two more things, Eric. There's two more things about this decision we're making that I want to make sure everyone hears from you. The next thing is you say we make a decision to turn from our old way of life. So we're not just trusting Jesus for salvation like it's some free out of jail free card, but we're actually making a decision to turn from our old way of life. What does that mean for an addict?
Well, if we go back to step 2 and we talk about the insanity principle, we can no longer live the way we've been living and claim to have forgiveness of sins from Jesus. If we really want to trust him and follow him and have him be the Lord of our lives, that means we turn from our running from him and we turn to follow him now. You know, there's a verse in the Bible in Matthew 16, Jesus says, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Forever who would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." So he's kind of saying, give up your old way of life and come follow my way that I have for you.
Yeah, and I love because what he says there is you're gonna lose your old way, but you're gonna gain a new way, and that's your last point. You say we make a decision to turn toward a new way of life. So it's not just what we're giving up, it's what we're gaining. What's an addict gonna gain if they make this decision today?
Well, we gain clean time, we gain recovery, we gain healing, we gain a whole new life that we never thought was possible. Again, that happened in my own life when I decided to follow his way and not my way anymore. Trust in his words and his love for me rather than my own opinion and my own ideas. When I did that, my life changed. It was miraculous how I came from being an addict to being where I'm at today, and it's through finding life in Jesus' life and what he did for me, and not in the old ways and my old habits anymore.
That's good. So if you're watching this, as Eric said, this is the most important step of all 12 steps. If you haven't made a decision yet to turn over your will and your life to Jesus, today's the day to do it. Again, use the questions and the content below this video to do this with a group or a mentor. And then we'll see you as we continue to go through the other steps.